Hi, my name's Will, and welcome to the Distorted Transmission for today. I'm chatting to Auckland teen heartthrobs Coridian. How are you?
Great.
I will.
Could you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Diddy. I'm the singer. Hi.
I'm Chris. I'm the drummer, and we're missing my doppelganger Mike on guitar and our youngest brethren Nick on bass.
It's quite a family arrangement, isn't it, Coridian? Apart from Diddy, I suppose.
Oh, he's been adopted since.
Yeah. Got the legal papers. Had to grow a beard though. That was the prerequisite.
Is that why you've got the beard going? You've got a bit of catch up to do though. I've noticed like all the Raven boys, they've got these like really impressive beards. They seem to be able to grow them very easily.
Nick's beard's coming along nicely too.
Yeah.
But yeah, me and Mike pretty much the ZZ Top of the band at the moment.
Last time we spoke, it was on the Drum Room Sessions interview platform back in June 2018, and it's weird to think it's been about 3.5 years since that happened. For the sake of any people who aren't aware of who you are, could you fill them in?
We're an Auckland-based alternative rock band. Formed up in like 2015. We've all come from musical backgrounds and done gigs and bands well before those days, and yeah, I just thought, why not try and make some different kind of music, and we've been doing it since, and it's been a journey.
7 long years.
What were some of the highlights of being in a band in that sort of 3.5 year interim? Have there been any sort of gigs or releases of note that people might want to hear about?
Yeah, we've done lots of shows, lots of tours, support acts with some pretty cool international bands.
I think around the time we talked to you, we had done Caldera. We toured on the back of that. 2018, we did some big support shows with Skinny Hobos and Devil Skin. Played our first Power Station gig, which was like a dream. And then, like Diddy said, we opened for some, POD and Skillet at the Power Station as well. Open for Fuel, and we did our first South Island trek in 2019. So pretty much we didn't stop for a couple of years. And then pretty much come the end of 2019, we'd finished recording our third EP or mini album, Elder, and then everything came to a grinding halt. I think we managed to squeeze 3 shows in last year. The benefit being that when we went to do our album release, we managed to sell it out, which was another feat for us. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, hopefully we can build the momentum back in 2022.
I think a lot of bands are kind of they've got their fingers crossed and they're sort of hoping that 2022 is gonna pay off a little bit better than 2021 did, for sure.
Yeah, too many cancellations.
So yeah, as you mentioned, you've released your third offering in May 2020 called Elder, I believe that was, and a single more recently, namely Chris Isaac's Wicked Game. And to be honest, I had no idea who that was, assuming it was some sort of recent pop artist. Pop music tends to escape my interest, so I kind of had to look it up, and I was amazed that it was a song that was released back in 1989, which, strange enough, I instantly knew. I'm pretty much sure everybody knows that. I want to fall in love. Everybody knows that song. I had actually assumed it was Roy Orbison at the time because it does have kind of a similar vocal style. So I learned something today. Thank you.
Ooh, Chris Isaac.
What made you decide to cover that track out of all of the tracks in the world that you could have covered?
Obviously, when we first started being Coridian, our sound we're still figuring out a sound. A lot of the feedback we're getting, people were like, "Oh, it sounds kind of like Incubus." And then we actually did a cover of Incubus, Pardon Me, I think it was. And we did sort of other covers kind of in the vein of that kind of like our sound that we were comfortable with. And then I think out of the blue, we just decided to, do a cover of a song that like pretty much reimagine a song, I guess, which makes it a bit more interesting rather than just replaying a song that people have heard. And I feel like if we did a cover of Incubus, people would be like, well, that doesn't sound like Incubus, but it's kind of close, but it's not. You know, you're gonna get more judgment. Whereas, if you like do a almost a pop or like a a soulful song or something a bit more mellow, and you intensify it with rock or whatever, it becomes its own sort of song with a bit of familiarity to it. And that was sort of the direction we're going.
It kind of starts off in a sort of a similar vein to the original, and then it sort of beefs up more and more and more. And Chris's drumming as well, it's got a sort of offbeat thing happening with the snare throughout, which kind of gives it a bit of a different vibe than the original track as well. I thought good.
If Chris Isaak likes it or not, should send it to him. You've butchered my song.
I mean, I guess it's a risk to release a cover in general. You know, and we've released like 3 albums worth of 3 EPs of music original, and then so just doing a cover out of the blue was quite maybe a little bit of a
gamble.
Yeah, we managed to actually get some pretty decent radio play out of it. We made onto the Rock 2000, which again is something that we've never made onto mainstream radio. They played it for a bit, and we got on Harrick and things like that. So definitely, it kind of gave us some nice little like radio momentum throughout lockdown as well. So the feedback was 90% positive.
It was also just a crowd favorite every time we played it live. It sometimes would be an encore song or something that would just put a play, and always get good response from it.
I hadn't heard it for probably 20 to 25 years, I guess. But the second, like I didn't recognize the verse, and then the second that chorus kicked in, I immediately thought, oh, this song. I think overall it was a good choice of cover, because like some bands cover quite obscure stuff because they want to seem edgy, but most people don't even know that it's a cover. You can't really get the right mileage out of it. Whereas the song you covered straight on the radio, bam, probably a lot of people suddenly discovered this band called Coridian from it, and that's really what you want.
The happy result.
You've got a new track that you just sent me about 5 minutes before we started this interview, so I haven't really had a chance to listen to it. But thanks for that. I'll check it out afterwards. And yeah.
Sorry.
I'll send you a PM and tell you what I think. It's a track called Endless War. So perhaps we could talk about that. Who would like to talk about that?
So it's kind of like one of the first songs that we started writing for our eventual, full-length album that we've been working on, recording and that kind of thing. And initially, we have played it live kind of in the last few shows we've done, and it's definitely seemed to get a really good response. So I feel like it's got a good kind of upbeat tempo, it's got a good groove, and then it's kind of got all the Coridian ingredients, but I think it's definitely just another kind of step up for us.
So the cover will also be on the album when you go to release it?
It'll be the bonus track.
Oh, nice. Do you have anything to add to that sort of overview?
I wrote those lyrics, like probably a year or so ago, and it was stemmed just from, a lot of it was sort of stemmed from some of my work colleagues, and how some of them sort of are always just really pessimistic and always negative, and anything that sort of comes up is always like, oh, it's going to be dumb, or just constant bickering, or just constant negative, like it just becomes draining to be around people like that. So it's just sort of like they're just in an endless war, and in the cycle of just finding something to be argumentative about, I guess.
I feel like that's kind of like a part of human nature in general, though.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you got the Fords and the Holdens and the this and that.
You did kind of just mention an album, so let's talk about the sort of the timeline, or the sort of the framework for that.
We kind of made this elements concept overall of our 3 EPs so far. Oceanic's water, Caldera is earth, and then Elder is fire. And then we've just been wanting to release a full length. Like every band wants to have a full length album, even though it probably doesn't make sense anymore with everything with streaming and stuff. But we're doing it for the love of music, not any of the other stuff. So the final album has been in the works for a long time, and it's the final element, which is air, and we're calling it Hava or Hava, which is a Hindi for air. And yeah, so we've kind of we've written the album, we've recorded half of it. Lockdown's kind of ruined the rest, so we'll be getting into the studio early in the new year, finishing off the album. It is coming out next year, probably later in the year, and we'll be launching a full-scale assault of tours and gigs in support of that. So yeah, we're pretty excited. We'll be dropping a bunch of singles, music videos, and behind-the-scenes stuff, playthroughs, all the stuff you got to do.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, just to build the continued momentum to get it back to where it was before, and hopefully more.
Yeah, I guess there is that sort of slight uphill struggle that sort of COVID's caused as well, as you're trying to build yourself back to where you were. Where will you be recording it? Are you still doing it through Zoran, or?
Yeah, he's the fifth member of the band, effectively. He produces. Our guitarist has started doing some production as well with him. He helps to arrange some of the songs, mix masters. He's mastering now as well for us, and he even does additional guitars and keyboards and layers and everything.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, he's been a huge part of kind of developing our sound as well. So it's pretty cool.
If a new band walks through the door, he'll quite often offer, like, would you like me to sort of inject my ideas? Would you like me to work on vocal harmonies or anything like that? And he's kind of open to contributing or not contributing, depending on what the band's preference is. So obviously you've opened the floodgates, and he's right in there.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, we've pretty much since Blind Faith came out in 2016, we've kind of had I guess an unofficial agreement that he has a pretty big say in contribution to what we do, and it's super open, like our band's been a democracy since day one, and but yeah, just having him in the fold has just helped everything. It's helped us develop as musicians as well, and our songwriting and how we think about things.
He's good at like giving his 2 cents, but then at the same time he allows us to still have our creative freedom. A lot of times people are like, oh, why don't you try this in the vocal? And then I'm like, okay, let's try it. I'm always open to try it. And then we'd listen back to it, both versions, and we'll make a decision rather than just like, no, this is the way. There's no,
sure,
it's not really forceful that he's kind of like, you have to do it this way.
But he's reasonably thick-skinned too as well. So if you're like, nah, we'll just stick with the original idea. We think it suits it better. He's like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're lost. Just put your volume down there.
No bass. Cool. All right. Well, that's about all the time we're going to have to chat this time around. Maybe I'll see you in another 3.5 years. But is there anything else you'd like to add to the end of the interview?
2022 will be our first tour in 2 years, which is insane, and we're super excited. So we're going to be playing 4 shows around the North Island with an Australian-Canadian band called East York, and with one of the coolest New Zealand bands in a very long time, Pull Down the Sun. So it's going to be a pretty rad mix of like rock, metal, and all the things in between. So we're pretty excited. And we've got a couple of other shows in the mix, COVID dependent. So yeah, basically next year we're just keen to get on the road.
And just big thanks to everyone putting up with us in lockdown through all of our social media posts, and thanks everyone for picking up our merch. Really appreciate it. It's really helpful. And big shout out to all the other bands written by wolves. Thanks for you guys always being GCs and helping us out and being part of our musical lives, and all the other bands and fans and families. Thanks for tuning in. Looking forward to next year and doing some pretty cool stuff. Thanks.
I think everyone's looking forward to next year.
Yeah. Didn't we say that in 2020? We're like, 2021 is going to be better.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks very, very much for spending a little bit of time of your Sunday evening with me, and
pleasure.
All the best for 2022. Hopefully I'll see you at some gigs.
Thanks heaps, Will. Love your show and love music.net.
Cool. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And thanks everyone else for watching. See ya.